If you are over 50 and your stomach feels bloated, tight, noisy, gassy, or just not right after eating what seems like healthy fruit, listen carefully. Because 3 fruits that many people eat every single day may be quietly making your gut worse, not better. And the scary part? Most people never suspect them. They blame aging. They blame stress. They blame bad digestion. But they keep eating the exact foods that may be stirring up the problem. Stay with me, because the 3rd fruit on this list surprises almost everyone, and it may be sitting in your kitchen right now looking completely harmless. And the biggest gut mistake people make with fruit, I'll explain that in just a moment. Now let me be clear, fruit is not the enemy. Fruit can absolutely be part of a healthy diet. But here's the surprising part. A fruit can be healthy in general and still be a problem for your gut, especially after 40, especially after 50, because as we get older, the digestive system often becomes less forgiving. You may notice more bloating than before, more gas, more urgency, more heaviness after meals, more strange stomach reactions to foods you used to tolerate just fine. That is why this matters. Because if your gut is sensitive, if you deal with IBS, bloating, gas, constipation, loose stools, or that uncomfortable swollen feeling after eating, certain fruits may be quietly making your symptoms worse. And no, it's not always about eating junk food. Sometimes it's the healthy choices that confuse people the most. So let's get into the first fruit, apples. Yes, apples. The fruit everyone thinks is the safest choice in the world. And in some ways, apples are healthy. They contain fiber. They contain plant compounds. They're simple and familiar. But here's the surprising part. For a lot of people with sensitive digestion, apples can be a gut trigger. Why? Because apples contain certain natural sugars that some people do not absorb very well. When that happens, those sugars travel deeper into the gut, where bacteria start feeding on them. And what comes next? Gas, pressure, bloating, cramping, sometimes even diarrhea. This is where it gets dangerous, because people think I ate fruit, so it can't be the cause. So they keep eating apples every day, even while their stomach keeps sending signals. Maybe you eat an apple in the afternoon and feel puffy an hour later. Maybe applesauce seems easier but still leaves you uncomfortable. Maybe apple juice makes you rush to the bathroom or feel hungry again fast. That is not in your head. Most people don't know this, but apples are one of the fruits that often show up on lists of foods that can trigger bloating or IBS symptoms in sensitive people. And the form matters too. A whole apple is one thing. Apple juice is another story. Apple juice removes much of the slowing effect of fiber and can hit the gut faster. So what should you do? You do not need to fear apples forever. But if you notice bloating, gas, or stomach discomfort after eating them, test the pattern. Try a smaller amount. Try not eating them on an empty stomach. Or take a break from them for a week or two and notice what changes. That one simple test can tell you more than guessing for months. And the biggest mistake people make with apples is assuming the words natural fruit sugar mean no problem. That is simply not true for every gut. Now let's move to fruit number 2, watermelon. This one shocks people because watermelon feels light, refreshing, hydrating, almost too innocent to be a problem. But here's the surprising part. For many sensitive guts, watermelon can be one of the biggest bloating triggers of all. Why? Because watermelon contains a type of fruit sugar that can be hard for some people to handle well. So even though it feels soft and watery, it can ferment in the gut and create gas, distension, and that uncomfortable swollen belly feeling. And this is where people get fooled. Because they think, how can something mostly made of water bother me? That's exactly why it slips under the radar. You eat a big bowl at night, or at a picnic, or after dinner because it feels lighter than dessert. Then suddenly your stomach feels stretched, your pants feel tighter, your belly starts making noise, and you tell yourself it must be something else. But here's the dangerous part. Watermelon is easy to overeat, very easy. No one sits down and thinks, I'm about to eat too much watermelon. They just keep slicing, keep snacking, keep chewing, and because it feels refreshing, they do not realize how much is going in. As we get older, portion size matters more, timing matters more, and your gut's reaction matters more. So if watermelon leaves you bloated, do not force it just because it seems healthy. That is not discipline. That is ignoring your body. A smarter move: cut the portion. Eat it earlier in the day instead of late at night. And do not combine it with a huge meal if your digestion is already touchy. Because sometimes the issue is not just the fruit. It is the amount, the timing, and the already sensitive gut underneath it. Now, before I reveal the third fruit, let me tell you something important. The goal here is not to create fear. The goal is awareness. Because the healthiest people after 50 are not the ones who blindly follow food labels. They are the ones who notice patterns. They notice what gives them energy, what calms their gut, what makes them feel light, and what makes them feel miserable. That awareness changes everything. Now let's talk about fruit number 3, dried fruit. And yes, this absolutely counts, because this is where many people quietly wreck their digestion while thinking they are making a smart snack choice. I'm talking about raisins, dates, prunes, dried apricots, figs, currants. The little sweet bites people keep in the pantry because they seem better than candy. But here's the surprising part. Dried fruit can hit the gut much harder than fresh fruit. Why? Because when you dry fruit, you remove the water and concentrate everything else. The sugar becomes more concentrated, the fiber becomes more concentrated, and the serving size becomes deceptive. That means a tiny handful can deliver far more than your gut is ready for. This is where it gets dangerous because dried fruit is easy to overeat fast. A few raisins turn into a box, a few dates turn into 5. A few prunes turn into a nighttime habit. And then come the consequences: bloating, gas, urgency, cramping, or in some people, constipation, especially if they suddenly eat a lot of fiber without enough water. Most people don't know this, but even healthy fiber can backfire if you increase it too quickly. Your gut needs time, your body needs water, and your digestion needs balance. This is why dried fruit causes so much confusion. A person says, "But I'm eating fruit and fiber. Why do I feel worse?" Because concentrated fiber and concentrated natural sugars can overwhelm a sensitive gut when the amount gets too high, too fast. And after 50, that can happen more easily than people expect. Now let's connect the dots. What do apples, watermelon, and dried fruit all have in common? They all look healthy. They all sound harmless. And all three can quietly trigger gas, bloating, cramping, or bathroom problems in people with sensitive digestion. That is the pattern, not because fruit is bad, but because your gut may not be handling certain sugars, fibers, or amounts the way it used to. And here is the biggest gut mistake people make. They keep changing supplements, probiotics, teas, and pills, while never questioning the fruit they eat every single day. That is why they stay stuck. They spend money. They try gut health products. They blame stress, and the real trigger is sitting in the fruit bowl. Now, you may be asking, so what fruit can I eat? Good question. Many people with sensitive digestion do better with gentler choices like berries, kiwi, grapes, citrus in moderate amounts, or pineapple in smaller portions. Not always, not for everyone, but often. And the smartest way to find out is not to memorize giant food lists forever. It's to test your own body. Here's how. Pick one suspected fruit. Remove it for 1 to 2 weeks. Do not change 10 things at once. Just one. Notice what happens to your bloating, gas, bowel movements, and comfort. Then reintroduce it and see what happens. That is how you find real answers. Not by guessing, not by hoping, and definitely not by forcing yourself to keep eating something just because everyone says it's healthy. But here's the surprising part. Sometimes the fruit itself is not the only problem. It's how you eat it. Apple juice instead of a whole apple. A huge bowl of watermelon after dinner. Dried fruit eaten by the handful with almost no water. Fruit on top of an already heavy meal. Fruit late at night when your digestion is slowing down. That is when even a good food can become a gut problem. As we get older, the body rewards better timing and smaller portions more than people realize. That's one of the biggest secrets to feeling better after 50. Not perfection, better patterns. And if you're finding this helpful, consider subscribing because on this channel, we break down hidden food mistakes in simple language so you can protect your digestion, energy, and daily comfort without all the confusing health talk. Now let me say something that a lot of people over 50 need to hear. You are not just getting old. If your stomach swells after meals, if you feel gassy for no clear reason, if you alternate between constipation and urgency, if certain foods make you feel uncomfortable for hours, that is not something you should automatically dismiss. Your gut is communicating, and the sooner you start listening, the sooner things can improve. Now, there is also an emotional side to this. A lot of people grew up hearing that fruit is always safe, always healthy, always the better choice. So when fruit starts bothering them, they feel confused, almost guilty, like they are doing something wrong. But here's the truth. Real health is not about blindly following rules. It's about learning what works for your body now. Not your body at 25. Not your body at 35. Your body now. After 50, wisdom should guide your plate more than slogans. That's how you stop suffering in silence. And here's one more thing almost nobody talks about. If a fruit keeps upsetting your gut, and you keep eating it anyway because it has a healthy reputation, that can create a daily cycle of inflammation, discomfort, poor sleep, mood swings, and food fear. Then you start avoiding social meals. You start worrying about bathroom access. You start feeling uncomfortable in your clothes, all from something you thought was helping you. That is why this matters so much. So let's close the loop. What are the 3 fruits that may be silently destroying your gut health? For many sensitive adults, especially those dealing with bloating, IBS, gas, or changing digestion after 40 and 50, the biggest troublemakers can be apples, watermelon, and dried fruit like raisins, prunes, dates, and dried apricots. Not because they are evil, not because no one should ever eat them, but because they are common triggers for the exact symptoms people complain about every day. And the real message is deeper than the fruit